Hi, thanks for joining me today. I'm here to talk a little bit about Somatic, Affective, Talk and Touch. My name's Gilly Thomas, and I'm the founder of the program and the modality. So I'm assuming that you're here because you've learned or seen something about this online, or you're somebody who might be practicing either physically or intellectually with somebody and you're looking for something a little bit more. So this is just kind of to give you a bit of a taste about what SAT is. So first of all, I'd like to invite you just to tune into yourself a little bit and notice if you're leaning forward into the computer to kind of hear what I'm saying. And if you are, then I just invite you to just kind of sit back in your chair, take a breath, feel your feet on the ground, and instead of trying to get the information from the presentation, just allow it to come towards you. Okay? And trust that whatever you hear, whatever you get from this is exactly what you need right now. Any questions come up, you're more than welcome to either connect with me now or in the future. There's some different ways that you can do that. All right. So one of the things that happens with all of us is that we get into patterns of movement, and those patterns can be either physical patterns where this fellow is kind of sitting forward hunched in, which is what a lot of us do on our computers, and that's just a pattern, something that he's gotten used to in terms of looking at a device. Doesn't look very comfortable to me. It could be a physical pattern. It could also be an emotional pattern because people also get into emotional patterns and ways of responding to life. And so that could be something happens and you get really angry really fast, or something happens and you just laugh it off. And so both of those patterns could be actually beneficial, or they could be not so beneficial for you. And one of the things with SAT is kind of understanding how to expand out so that you've got some choices in how to respond. So I put on this image so that you could see that as you look at somebody, you can start to get curious about what might be behind somebody's pattern or your own pattern, right? Because in somatic, affective, talk, and touch, it really is about your client and also about yourself. So why did I even develop this program? Well, I started my journey in being curious about people in nursing and learned a lot about the physical body, which is fascinating. And then I also thought, well, there's more to people than just the physical body. So I started to get curious about the emotional body and studied psychology. And that was also fascinating. However, what I found was that psychology really talked about theory and trying to understand with the mind why people do certain things, and understanding kind of from a top or a mind down to the body perspective. And I really felt like people feel emotions in their body. And so that left me in a bit of a quandary because I wanted to find a way to integrate both of those. So I actually went to New York for 4 years and studied the Rubenfeld Synergy method and became a body-mind therapist in 2000. So I've been practicing for over 20 years. In that process, I also did craniosacral training, all the levels, and psychodrama and orthobionomy, which is a physical modality, and learned more about not only working with people physically and emotionally, but also energetically. And so it's really incorporates everything that I've learned over the years and put it together in a way that other people can also use it. So obviously, somatic is physical. It's not just the skeleton, it's not just the bones. There's a whole lot to you that is physical. There's your eyes, and there's your hair, and there's your organs and your muscles, and and your endocrine system, and all of those things make up your physical body. And then there's also your emotional body, which is your, what you feel. And oftentimes people interpret what they feel based on their physical sensations. They'll go, oh, I'm got warmth in my heart, and so I must be feeling love right now. Or I feel really tense. And, like if your hands make fists, it may be an indication that you're angry. And those are just a couple of the emotions. Some people say that some emotions are negative and some emotions are positive. And for myself, I think every emotion is actually super amazing and valid and valuable for an individual. It depends on how comfortable you are with them and how you express them as to whether it's actually a good thing in the world. But all of them can be fantastic. And so one of the things with somatic affective talk and touch is getting to know and getting comfortable with your own emotions. And you kind of like, what you know, and you don't know what you don't know. So with talk, it's also intriguing in that there's some words that people use that flow easily through them, and other words that will be actually held in their body. And when they express them, when they say them, it's like the body goes, oh, good, I don't have to hang on to that anymore. And the whole body relaxes. And then not only a word, but a whole range of emotional response can become available once you tune into that word. So that's why the talk that's used in this, can release people physically and emotionally, and give them choice. Because when you can't or you don't know what's happening, then you don't actually have a choice. So that's why the talk is really, it's a unique kind of talk. It's not like, oh, so something happened to you in your past and we're going to work that through and get an intellectual understanding of it. It's a very simple talk that creates this connection and release. And then, of course, there's touch. And touch is such a funny one because it's like it's the first sense that we actually get a sense of when we're conceived. Because in your first 9 months of your life, you're surrounded by your mother's womb and by her body. And then once your sense of hearing develops, you'll hear the heartbeat. But touch is actually the first thing that you experience, the first sense that you experience. So touch in this approach is not so that it goes in and does anything to the client, because it really doesn't. It's simply there to be present. And by being present, there's a lot of support. So for example, if you've had something happen in your life, I had a client that had dove into a swimming pool when she was 5 years old and cut her chin. And it was very painful and scary for her as a child. So I was talking to her about it in her 30s, and she held her head in a very kind of particular way. And somehow it came out that this had happened. And so I asked her about it. She said, oh yeah, well, I don't even touch this area because it's actually kind of numb, and I just feel sick when I come close to touching it. And so anyway, we worked with it, and what happened eventually is she now can move her head and neck freely, and she can touch her chin, and she's a lot more comfortable in a whole lot of ways. But the touch can be either the person, the client, using touch themselves, like that in that example, or the practitioner using touch to support somebody's mind and emotions and physical self to go to a place where maybe they're like, oh, abhorrent, like, oh, can't do that because it's sickening or it's awful. And and it doesn't have to be. So how I describe it is that somatic affective talk and touch links the trauma body and the non-trauma body. So everybody who's alive and well has experienced trauma. It can depend on your experience as to the extent of the trauma, and everybody's experienced non-trauma. So through the touch and talk, there's actually a bridge that's connected between the trauma body and the non-trauma body. And that in essence in itself gives the person who may be frozen in their trauma or frozen in that experience a place that they can move to, a bridge that they can move on. And it's quite lovely to witness that. Self-care is definitely a prime component of this modality because you as a practitioner or the practitioner that you're seeing acts as a bridge to non-trauma. Because when I'm working with somebody, their trauma is their trauma. And my hands or I can feel what's happening through my hands. That's also a bridge of communication between myself and my client. So when I stay in my own care, I can provide that bridge for that person to have an experience or have a possibility of being in a different place. So when I teach somatic affective talk and touch, it's not only about practicing self-care outside of a session, it's also about practicing self-care during a session. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. So that's also quite fun. Now, in a session, there's also the appreciation that change can only occur in the present moment. As much as you want things to change, maybe from your past, you're like, oh, that was awful. I just wish that didn't happen. Unfortunately, we can't wish things away. However, we can change them in the moment that we're in. We can change our understanding, our body response, our perception. A whole lot of things can happen in the present moment. And so when that happens, then a person can actually have some choice and have some movement. And I actually chose this slide because the one hand is in the light and the other hand is a shadow, and it's in the darkness. And a lot of things that happen for people, why they get stopped and why they get frozen, is because what they're afraid of is in their shadow. And it can be really difficult to face fear when you're alone. And when somebody's lending you a hand, like a SAP practitioner, it's not so scary. And people will come to see me and they'll say, oh man, I'm scared to come and see you, but I didn't realize I would laugh so much. Like it's not so scary. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's terrifying. And other times it's actually not. Okay. So why wait? Why wait to have a session? Why wait to take the training? This is Dobbs. He was one of my foster dogs, puppies, and waiting patiently for food or water. I don't know what it was, but that's it. It's like, and it's like, oh, as soon as I saw him, it's like, oh, let's get you something good in that bowl so that you can nourish and grow and continue on your journey. So I really invite you to not wait, to go for it. Because this training and this experience too, it connects the mind body and the body mind. And what does that mean? A lot of people in our society go from the mind to the body. It's like, well, we got to understand it. We got to figure it out. We got to rationalize it. And so our minds, our brains are phenomenal. And they can rationalize a whole lot of stuff. So your body could be screaming something at you, like, I'm in a lot of pain. I don't want to do this. I want to do that. And your mind's like, yes, but la, la, la. So this process helps you listen to your body and also your body to use your mind as a resource and as a friend. And what I find is that a lot of people who are practitioners, people who are interested in working with other people, will either take the approach of mind to body, where they're maybe a talk therapist, a psychologist, or they'll take the approach which is body mind, where maybe they go into massage or chiropractic or something like that. And this training actually can help either, because, well, I don't want to say help, because you as a professional are doing your job well as you know it. What this training does is it expands different possibilities for you in how to practice. And even if your practice doesn't permit you to use touch or doesn't permit you to use talk when you practice, there are ways that the awareness that you gain through this training, you can incorporate it into your practice without having to go beyond the barriers and boundaries that are set in your profession. It's great self-care, and it makes anything that you do so much more fun and interesting. I highly recommend it, of course. So, what does the training program involve? It's 2 years, which is actually pretty doable, and it's three 5-day intensives where you have to come to the beautiful Okanagan Valley. I mean, that's just such a hardship. It's actually not. It's amazing, and have 5 days where you really learn in person. The rest of it is actually at distance, so you can do it at home. So it's research, it's seeing practice clients, it's getting some supervision, and learning and growing as you go. So if you have any questions, please do reach out to me. You can get a hold of me at, if you go to the website, satt.ca, there's all the information about how to get in touch with me. If you're curious just to see what a session looks like, I'm going to be doing one as a Facebook Live in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So look out for that. Okay. Have a great day. Take care and have fun. Okay. Ciao for now.